From the here, we were muted.
And no one said anything.
Hey, speak up if you're here.
Yeah, Matt, thank you.
Come on, Matt, thank you. So Matt, so okay, Matt.
There was used
I texted Jesse.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear that, Jesse. Well, I heard that.
Will our three members on Zoom introduce themselves, starting with Charlie?
I hear you guys now.
I can hear you too. It's Katie.
Now I don't hear.
Neither do I.
From School Construction Authority, Joshua Adams, you have the floor.
Thank you kindly. Trying to start my video here. Can y'all hear me in the meantime while that populates?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
excellent. Okay, I clicked on start video. I'll appear, I guess, at some point. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me here at your Community Board 4 meeting. I just wanted to kind of introduce myself. So again, I'm Joshua Adams. I do external affairs for the Manhattan Borough, for the SCA, for the School Construction Authority. So just a little bit about what we do at the SCA, or what the SCA is about. So the SCA is the agency that's really tasked with building schools in all 5 boroughs of New York City. We have three types of projects that we perform at the SCA. These are capacity projects. So capacity projects refer to building new buildings or building additions to new buildings. It could also refer to class size reduction programs where we help reduce and alleviate class sizes in our existing buildings, as well as funding included in that capacity to help remove temporary classroom units or TCUs. Sometimes they're referred to as TCBs or temporary classroom buildings, but I think here in Manhattan we got TCUs. Other boroughs may have TCBs. We also do capital investment projects or CIP improvement projects. These are capital improvement projects. So these are typically probably what you see around your area in some of our schools. These are our exterior modification projects. So these could include masonry repair projects, new roofing, parapets at the new schools, as well as new windows. Could include HVAC equipment or new installation of HVAC systems, new boilers, and major plumbing repairs at buildings as well. And then lastly, we just have our mandated programs. So these are our federal, state, and local law improvement programs. These can include our asbestos abatement projects or remediation projects, as well as any building code compliance or local laws work that we need to go in and do inside some buildings. Lastly, we have a Reso A program with the SCA. I'm sure some of you have heard of our Resolution A projects. I actually have a flyer here if I could just share it. I have, can I share my screen?
You can share your screen afterward.
Okay. Just for a moment, I'm going to turn off video to share. I think my video is causing a little bit of a delay. Just one moment. Okay, let me go ahead and pull that up. Bear with me, folks. Okay. All right, let me click share and see if that does the trick. Okay, can we all see?
Nope, not yet.
Okay, it should be coming up soon. While it's populating, I'll just explain what the Resolution A process is. So Reso A projects are really just school-specific capital improvement or enhancement projects. These are typically funded by individual grants from New York City Council members or the respective borough presidents. So these projects are typically important to the school community since they help the DOE enhance their facilities and existing school buildings. So the way the process typically goes is once a city council member or the borough president decides to designate a grant, the SCA would be responsible for scoping out that project and overseeing the design and construction. Has it shown now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, excellent. I'm going to try to zoom in because some of this text is a little small, but hopefully it doesn't crash it. For some reason, it typically does. So here we go. So some type of project types for our Reso A program typically may include auditorium upgrade. And then here on it gives us an estimate. Now, these are just estimates that we provide. Each school is a case-by-case situation. But just some estimates for a typical auditorium upgrade that may include seating, floor replacement, curtain replacement, and some AV tech. On the low end for the whole upgrade for all three of those could be around 1 million to a high end of 2.5. Specific requests for maybe just seating and floor alone could come in a little lower, as well as maybe just curtains or audiovisual tech alone would be typically a little lower. Average months of duration time for the whole typical auditorium upgrade could be about 2 years. A gym upgrade for a project For resume typically includes just some new wall padding or a refinishing or replacement of existing basketball courts with a new court. There could be also some library upgrades. This could be new tables, new chairs, new furniture in the space, new book. Sorry, forgetting the word there. Bookcases for the library as well, and maybe some. It could also include some new lighting in the space, also like a room conversion project. Science lab upgrades or cafeteria upgrades. New science labs. Sometimes these typically include like hydroponics labs or just new science labs as well. It could also come in the form of a room conversion to convert 2 spaces into a new science lab. Playground upgrades or security cameras. These come in the form of we call them IPDVS or security cameras, but typically DOE maintains a security camera process. They can request them through the resume program, but DOE maintains its own security camera program where they kind of scope out schools that need cameras in their spaces. So, but this may be requested as well. Mobile science carts and culinary arts rooms and some green roofs as well as the request for supplemental cooling for any PA spaces. Some items that are not included due to not being capitably eligible. So these would include window AC units, standalone window AC units, software, loose furniture, programming for the building, staffing or toner cartridges and other items. And then, over here is just the, I hope you guys aren't in that image there. Over here is the just typical timeline project milestone. So the way it works, just like our CIP projects, we scope it out. During the scoping phase, we meet with the school, we hear what they're requesting. We talk about the budgeting that's been allotted to that program. And then after we meet with the school, we hear their concerns, what they're looking to have. The design team on that project will come back to the SCA, do an assessment to see what's feasible within the funding request and within the request made by the school. If some requests or changes are feasible, we'll implement those in the design process. Get through design and then get through the phasing schedule, bid and award the project, and then move into construction.
Recording in progress. Sorry.
All right, so that's just the resume project, but I do want to kind of bring up a list of some ongoing projects in Community Board 4. If I could do that as well. I think if I minimize that, it'll just bring it up. Can we see this screen too? It's like an Excel spreadsheet.
No, you're not gonna be able, you have to share one screen at a time, so you have to,
Okay,
you
okay.
can take this one down and start up a new page.
Understood. Okay.
I'm so I can see, yeah. Because I
Okay, let's try that again.
want to see what design has on the screen.
How about now? Oh, well, it should be showing up soon. It says your screen
Yeah.
share is loading, so.
You guys want me to turn the lights off so you can see the screen better?
That's fine, we can try it, yeah, I'm fine.
How about now? It should be up now, I think.
Yes,
Excellent. Okay, as I was mentioning earlier, we have 3 types of programs: capacity. So these are new buildings or additions to new buildings, or this could also just be interior fit outs for new spaces for schools. In this case, there is a capacity project within City Council 3. I believe this also falls within Community Board 4 district. It's a PS at Western Rail Yards. It is an interior fit out space. It's currently with the developer at this moment, but we do have a seat capacity for this school. Excuse me, it's a little delayed there. We do have an just seat capacity for the school for 686 seats. So that is currently on scope hold right now because it is with the developer. The developer needs to finish their work before we can go in and do the work we need to do to make it fit out the space for a school. I'm going to go into some CIP. These are, again, capital improvement projects. Again, these are the projects that you typically see outside of our buildings. like our exterior modification projects. The highlighted projects are SCA projects, non-highlighted are with DSF. So we got a few projects in design. Two.
There it is.
Yeah, you see a little better?
Yeah, it popped up now.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to zoom in. So we got 2 at Bayard Reston or M440. We got RTU, which is a cooling system replacement project at the school, currently in design, as well as an emergency light replacement and some local law 26 exit sign that's currently in design as well. M641 or City as School. This project is actually in bid and award right now. So once we clear the bid and award process and get the contractor on board, it'll move forward to actual construction. PS41 is also in the design phase as well. Some open items that are currently being resolved before it is fully bid out and awarded. It looks like maybe this one's here twice, but Bayard Ruston does have a local law 26 exit sign project. M600 or Fashion Industries Vocational High School. We got a capital, CTF stands for Capital Task Force. It is a room conversion project. 641 also has a local law 26 exit signs project coming up as well. And lastly, M834 High School Environmental Studies, a fire stopping project currently in design. So fire suppression systems. Okay, let me just go down to some existing projects that are currently in construction now. So at PS11 or M011, we have a current accessibility exterior masonry parapet and roof replacement project in the works with I thought I changed that, with an anticipated completion for the end of this year. Right now, if you haven't been there recently, or if you have been there, you notice that it's been fully scaffolded, fully covered in sidewalk shedding. Most of that scaffolding is down now. There is just a small portion of scaffolding that remains on the southeast side of the building, I believe, where we are currently doing some ongoing play yard roof repair. And we are going to finish out this project, the installation of a chairlift, I believe on the 21st Street side of the building, to allow accessible access into the school. PS33 or M033, we have an ongoing exterior masonry roof project, as well as a playground safety surface replacement at the school. We have anticipated completion for this project as well for December 31st of next year. Let me just zoom out just a little tad, folks, so we can try to get a little bit more of the screen in there. At M440, we have an ongoing exterior masonry or exterior modification project as well. This project has an anticipated completion for, I believe, December 30th for 2024. This project has been going on for quite some time. Has been some observation of some unforeseen conditions at the school which need to be resolved. The contractors there are going to resolve those conditions while they're there. Due to the updated work scope, it did push back the completion date. Park West High School, M535. We mobilized there, I believe in May. Sidewalk shed and scaffolding is up. We are currently doing demolition at the building. This school also is an exterior masonry, roof, and parapet replacement project, with an anticipated completion for this project for September of next year. Of next year. M600 Fashion Industries High School. We are almost complete with this project. It involved exterior masonry as well. Parapets and flood elimination. We have anticipated full completion for this project for December 30th of this year. M625, I believe, High School of Graphic Communication Arts. We are in the process of doing a charter match auditorium upgrade project here. So this project is underway. We have not gotten, we are going to be able to get to the auditorium process probably in September. We're currently trying to resolve some bathroom issues in the space. So the school has access to those spaces come the fall. And lastly, for our CIP projects, M834 or High School for Environmental Studies. We're doing a full roof replacement, or we're doing a roof replacement at that school with an anticipated completion for May of 2024. So here below also, there's just some ongoing DSF projects. Now the Division of School Facilities will have the updated completion dates for these. But at M17, there's a some DEP DOE water conservation fixture retrofit program ongoing, a new steam system optimization. MO41 also has a similar DEP DOE water conservation system retrofit program going on. M70 DSF conducting new water heater upgrades. Bayard Ruston is also getting some bathroom upgrades. Just to be clear, these bathroom upgrades typically include like new fixtures in the space and maybe some new tiling in the space as well. 535 is getting an elevator modernization project by DSF. 641 also bathroom upgrades in their building. And lastly, M834 High School Environmental Studies, an elevator modernization project ongoing also. And down here below, folks, these are just some projects that were completed since July 1st, 2019. So I can share this with you at the end of the meeting, just so you have a copy of this. But these are just some ongoing, recently completed projects since 2019. And lastly, I want to pull up the Reso-A projects again. Same as here. Yellow is the SCA, and non-highlighted is DSF. So at PS11,
Joshua, just give us a
yes.
second. I think we haven't loaded yet. Have we?
At sorry, are you speaking to me, Jesse?
Yeah.
Say it again.
Good. There it goes. Never mind. Go ahead.
Okay. PS11, we have a FY21 Reso-A room conversion project going on with an anticipated completion for December 30th this year. PS51, Elias Host School, a Reso-A accessibility project ongoing with an anticipated completion of January of 2024. And lastly, M340, the 6th Avenue Educational Campus, a Reso-A playground upgrade as well. I'll reach out also just to confirm the completion date on that project, as it's should be ongoing also. And then there's a number of DSF and projects that DSF is conducting, some water fountain upgrades, supplemental cooling upgrades, cafeteria upgrades, a number of bathroom and classroom upgrades, and some partitioning and Bayard Ruston here, and auditorium supplemental cooling as well. And here below, you see some fountain upgrades for high school environmental studies. And Fashion Industries High School has an auditorium and gym upgrade in their building that's being conducted by DSF. If I imagine some of these may have already been completed, but surely we can also follow up with DSF on the status of these. And then here below, there's just some also recently completed since 2019. SCA completed a FY19 Reso-A room conversion and partitioning at IS70 or M070 with a construction end date on July 31st, 2020. So I'll bring it back to the CIP page. And if you folks have any questions, I'd be happy to respond and try to provide an answer to the best of my ability.
Great, yes.
Thank you, Zach. Just a quick one. You mentioned the chairlift on 21st Street.
Uh-huh.
Is that going to be ready for September?
It probably not Probably not ready by September. I think maybe they were shooting for October.
Okay, that's good. All right.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be ready by the first week of school, but hopefully by October. I'll double check with if you want to follow up with me, I can double check with the project officer, see if the time has changed.
That's
on-
good. The schools have been waiting for that for a long time. All right, Josephine.
Hi Joshua, thank you for that presentation. I just have a couple of quick questions. The first is, can you talk a little bit about the pilot security door program that's happening, if it's going on in any schools in CB4, and just basically give us an overall of what's happening with that.
That I believe is being performed by DSF, if I'm not mistaken. What I could do is, if you want to send me an email, I'll forward over your requests over to DSF's manager for facilities for Manhattan, and see if they can provide some details on those. Fortunately, I believe all of those security doors are being upgraded by the Division of School Facilities.
Great, that's very helpful. The other question I have is that with the new state law that we are reducing class sizes over the next 5 years, I know this is in the very early stages, but I'm just curious about how that's going to happen. You know, for instance, we have a school in our district, PS 212, it's already co-located, and it's an elementary school, it's co-located with a middle school and a high school. So I'm curious to know, at that school in particular, I think the class size is about 27, and it's going to be reduced to less than 25. So what's the overall, how is this going to work basically? Are we just talking new schools? How are we going? How is this going to happen?
I don't have the details on how it's going to work with the new state law. I don't know if this is going to be more leaning towards DOE and on trying to organize how their schools operate. It possibly could impact some of our future construction, or especially of our additions and capacity projects. But I could surely find out. Do you know what the policy name is, or so I could kind of refer to our folks at the SEA?
I mean, this is a law that was signed by the governor this year about just reducing class sizes. So basically what's going to happen is for over the next 5 years, the class size for kindergarten through 3rd grade will be 20 students, I believe. 4th grade through 8th grade will be 23 students, and then 9th grade through seniors will be 25. So it's a huge undertaking. And I'm just curious to know what the thinking is behind, what the plan is, the long-term plan is for this.
Okay, sure. I could surely follow up internally and see what I can gather.
Okay, great. I think we have Matt and has a question.
Thanks, Josephine. Hi, Joshua. Thanks for the presentation. Sorry if I missed it, but is the criteria still to be a capital eligible project that the project itself has to have a shelf life of 5 years?
Yes.
Okay. And do you happen to know, and if you don't know, do you know if any schools in our community district are operating on a short-term lease under that 5-year period?
There may be. I could follow up and see if there are any. Basically, you know, the way it works is like you said. So when we get a request for a capital improvement project or even a roadway project, it needs to be provide a useful life of 5 years. So if there's a school that's on a lease and they have 3 years left, for example, and maybe the council member or the borough president wants to do a new green roof or something like that, or let's say auditorium upgrade or something like along those lines. The council member may make that request, and that funding can be held at that school, but no project for that project would not move forward until the lease at that building is renewed. So as soon as it's renewed, then the project may move forward. Now, that doesn't mean that the council member can't use that money, or the borough president can't use that money for any other project at any other school within their district. They may do so, but that's the typical process for schools that are leased. I can find out what schools in CB4.
Yeah, that would be great. I think we've run into a few
under
instances where there are schools that we have found out sort of later in the process. So part of what we do is we end up putting together sort of our budget priorities for schools, and we work with the principals and we sort of help push those projects forward. And it would be great to know, if there are any leases that may be up, just so we have a better understanding. We've run into that issue in the past where things become ineligible for that reason. And then just one other question. Do you have a sense, similar to sort of this, as we think about our budget priorities as a committee, do you know, like, if any of these projects are, fully funded or underfunded, or which projects sort of need that, any additional funding to sort of get over the finish line and get completed?
You talk about Reso A or?
Yeah, Reso A.
Only Reso A. The ones that are in design, right? If they are in design and we're moving forward, then the funding will be there. We wouldn't move forward with the project until we had the available funding to do the work, and then we would move through the process of like scope and design. Design, excuse me. We can scope out the work and provide a estimate of the costs. But if there's any particular project you have in mind that you're thinking of, I could check in with our Reso A team and see if there's any holdups in terms of funding for that type of work. And
yeah, I think it might just be valuable information just as we sort of go through our priority lists, if there are certain projects we should be advocating for.
The school is also, if there's a request where, maybe within the funding request that's just not feasible, or it would be too costly, the school always has the opportunity to say, well, maybe we can consider this instead. We don't ever want to push them away from something they want. But if there's ever an issue where the funding source is just not viable in terms of like the cost and what they're looking for, we can always work with them on coordinating with them on how they can get what they want within that funding they received.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think just as I just mentioned, thank you for that. And yeah, if there's any projects that have sort of gotten into the scoping and it turns out that they're far more expensive than everyone originally thought, would be great to get a better understanding of which projects those might be.
Sure.
Thank you. That's all.
One person in the public who wanted to. Or.
Well, Katie would like me to ask questions for her because her connection is bad?
Yes, sure, okay.
Okay, Katie, I'm gonna ask these questions. I think I understand them, but if we get them wrong, we can always follow up. Joshua, can you speak about the matching grant for the charter school matching grant for the auditorium? When will that auditorium work start and how long will it take? And then the second question is about the new school at the Hudson Yards Phase 2, which I had questions about too, but let's go with the first set of questions about the auditorium.
Okay. Yes, so the auditorium project is currently underway. Of course, right now, as I mentioned, I'm trying to get back to my screen here. We have an estimated we have an anticipated completion for February of 2024 for that entire project itself. I believe the school is closed for this summer, so we are currently working on a bathroom issue in the building. We've already closed out the auditorium, so the auditorium work is also underway. There's workers doing auditorium work as well as doing the bathroom work. The bathroom's kind of the major focus currently to get out of the way so the school can have access to that space come September. So full completion and actual use of the space would likely be around February of 2024.
Thank you.
And the other question was regarding the capacity project.
The capacity project, yeah, which was the clarification on what grades that's for, but I had a question on this general capacity. Was the current capacity of that school was it always that number, or has that capacity increased in any way?
Yeah, it used to be 450.
Be 450, right?
I think you said 450 about a number. Say that 450 one more time. Sorry.
I'm asking about the capacity school, and it's basically the future school that's gonna be built in the Hudson Yards phase 2. You listed the capacity on your spreadsheet as around 600 plus.
Yeah.
I wanna confirm that originally it was less than that, and you guys increased the capacity there.
I can confirm with our capital planning unit, when it was initially 450, probably before my time of the SCA. But I can check in on when on earth that was raised.
And that's my understanding is that originally there was still seats. We needed seats in our district. And that, from my understanding, with that capacity increase, we, as reported by you guys, we don't need seats in our district anymore.
I believe that it was the understanding that this capacity project would fulfill that need.
For all the seats, for all the needed seats in the district.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
Jessica.
Yeah.
Clarify what grades.
I just want to clarify the grades.
Yeah, can you clarify the grades?
Over that.
Sure, I will. It is a PSIS, so I believe it's K. It might be K through 8. But let me double check. Let me see if I can have it here. Actually, hold on. In the meantime, if you want to ask an additional question while I just try to look that up.
I'm on. We have a hand in the phone. Elizabeth, I'll bring you over.
Say that again.
Not for you, Josh. I'm bringing someone from the public has their hand raised. I'm just gonna bring them over.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Elizabeth, do you hear us?
Excuse me.
Elizabeth, you have to unmute for us to hear you.
I'm sorry. Good day. Good evening. I was only saying that I had raised my hand to tell you that I couldn't hear you at the beginning of the meeting. So I don't have any questions for this person, but I would like to speak later, if I may. All right. Peace and blessings. Sorry.
All right. Bring you back. I'll go on in.
We'll look at 7:15 and then come over to the next.
Yeah.
What 7:15 should move to the next.
And start letting you go back. All right, Elizabeth, you're gonna stick with us for a little bit until I figure out. Thanks. All right.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Joshua, can you do one thing? Can you send us that sheet?
Yes, for budget, yeah.
The Excel, the spreadsheet, that'd be very helpful to us for our.
Oh, yeah, sure. Sure.
Thank you.
Wait, well, I'm sorry, there's no time, was there, I couldn't see it, there's not a timeline on there, was it?
No.
There was no timeline, it was just like kind of in the air, like when,
What,
okay,
for what?
for each of the projects. No, there was timelines on some of them.
There is a cell that includes construction and or anticipated construction completion.
That'll be helpful too, thank you.
But that's
All right, thank you.
for our capacity projects. I'm sorry, capital improvement and reso.
Thank you, Joshua.
You're off the hook, Josh.
Oh, well, thank you, folks. I really appreciate it. I wrote down what I could here on some questions that were raised, but please always feel free to send me those via email. That way I can always forward them around to our units, but I do have it here and I'll follow up with these tomorrow and try to get some responses out to you folks.
We'll get an email out to you, sure. Thank you for a lot of work on them. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you all. Have a good night.
All right. Any discussion?
Why don't we, since we have our guests, why don't we wait for the end of your discussion on the letters? You want to do it all at the end? I think that's helpful.
Okay. Moving on. Office of, Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment. See, Marissa's here. Marissa, are you presenting or is Melanie?
Is not.
No. Marissa,
Marissa, you hear us?
how are you? I'm you.
Yeah, the problem's getting number 4.
Funky Zoom today.
There she is.
Yeah.
Hi, Marissa.
Here they all come.
Good call.
She's on the mayor's office.
Oh. All right.
Carla, can you hear us?
Yeah, hi.
Hi. There you go. Okay.
How you
Thank
doing?
for being here.
Oh.
Good to see everyone. I'm a little early, so I was just going to catch the end of the conversation, I guess.
You're right on time.
Okay, great. I think Marissa's on and we're just waiting for, are you in the middle of something right now?
We're waiting for you. You're on.
Oh, you're waiting for me?
Yes. Welcome.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks. We're waiting for Aaliyah, who is actually going to present a deck. So I think she thought we were on at 7:30. So we'll see. Let me just see where she is.
First, they're here.
Like this here?
Tyler, you guys, we're probably not either done in 15 minutes, but that's up to you.
I say we go on the back end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carla, we're gonna, while you guys load up, we'll go ahead with our item 3 and we'll move ahead and then we'll circle back to you if that's okay.
Okay.
Great.
Malika?
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Great. Thank you. I am Malika Green. I'm Deputy Chief of Manhattan Recreation. So I currently do programming across the 13 recreation centers in Manhattan. And that includes after school, summer camp, the movies, outdoors, and all 13 recreation centers in Manhattan, including the Chelsea Recreation Center, which is in CB4. Recreation center membership, by becoming a member, you have access to all 36 recreation centers, I'm sure all of you know, which offers hundreds of programs and activities for youth all the way to seniors. We welcome all into our recreation centers to join, to do events. Events, of course, are free of membership. To become a member, there are certain requirements. We have seen a handful of asylum seekers coming to Chelsea Recreation Center to use the swimming pool, but really a small amount. They've become members. They've expressed interest in a very specific programming, some in swimming, some in soccer. We are looking to increase programming for all our members. So whatever they've expressed interest in, whoever the member is, we've tried our best to sort of accommodate and to look to increase programming. We tend to survey our members on a regular basis by just having conversations with them. We recently did do a full-on survey, but we have conversations with them and they've expressed interest in soccer. And we have been looking to increase our sports programs across the 13 recreation centers, especially Chelsea. So we're looking to bring soccer to the program. We also do have Kids in Motion program, which is the outdoor playground associate program, where there is a playground associate in, right now it's about 8 different parks in Manhattan, and we do free programming for whoever shows up. It could be a toddler, it could be a senior, whoever shows up, we'll do programming with them. We also have the Rocker Park, which is a little different, and we do also have 2 other grant-funded sites that we do programming in. And of course, all are welcome to come to take part in those programs, those do not require a membership, but if they do come to one of the 13 centers in Manhattan, it would require a membership. Of course, it's free for anyone under 24 years, and over 24, there is a fee depending on if you're a person with a disability, if you're a veteran, and if you would just be looking for a regular membership in a center with a pool or without a pool. I think that covers what was asked of me. I'm not sure if there's any questions in terms of programs being offered at the 13 recreation centers or just in general at parks.
The sanctuary centers where the asylum seekers are staying, do they, or I guess my better question would be, how are you getting this information out to the many children in our district who are really in desperate need of this over the summertime?
So we've been asked, and we've sort of pushed the recreation center membership. We've sort of let them know about the Kids in Motion program and the Summer Sports Experience program. We do not currently have the Summer Sports Experience program in Manhattan, but it is being offered in some of the other boroughs. But we do have an active Kids in Motion program that is ongoing. Okay, so someone from the Parks Department is actually working with the HERPs, like going there and passing this information along, or are people just somehow finding you guys? So that information is being passed on to City Hall, and City Hall has passed on that information. We've been asked on a more than one instance to give that information. And we've noticed that at one particular center, Chelsea specifically, that we've seen a handful, not a lot, but we've seen a handful of asylum seekers come into the recreation center wanting to use the space.
I actually have a question. Hi. Thank you for joining. I have a question about, actually, it's another program that we're going to be talking about, WPE, and I was wondering how we can encourage this more. I think Parks and the Police Department, PAL, has joined forces to have a summer program at McCafferty Playground this summer, which is great, 11 to 4, and it's a drop-in for anyone, which would help parents a lot. And I was wondering, how often does that happen? What, how can we kind of advocate for that more?
So I'm not familiar. You said it was McCaffrey Playground?
Correct. The one at Fort Street?
Yeah, so it's very likely this is being done with PD having a permit for the space. So I'm not familiar with that program. We do have, I'm looking at the Kids in Motion sites, we do have, and I see Solane, I see Stewart, I see some others, but I do not see McCaffrey Playground. So I'm not familiar with that program. I'm sorry.
That might be like PAL or just getting a separate.
That's correct. They may just have a permit at the parks facility, a space to just do programming on a regular basis.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions, Matt, Charlie, Katie? Good?
Great.
Oh. Who's over here?
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you
Linda,
so
thank you
much.
very much.
You're
Pleasure.
welcome. Thanks.
Paula, are you all
Leah? She's getting on.
You can share your screen whenever you like.
Hello. Hello. Start whenever you're ready.
Okay. Share the screen.
We're moving to the booking.
Helps remove all the committee members. No discussion.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Maybe so from the left. Make sure you, that's in the power. That's in the power. Rodney Washington is our new, that's our new board member. Is he new? No. Oh, he's new. We're waiting for, I think, I believe you're presenting, correct?
Okay. We're ready for you.
Okay.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
Let me see, I'm trying to share my screen. In the meantime, while I'm doing that, I think we could make some introductions.
If it's easier, if you want to email me the presentation, I can share it out, I can just bring it up on my screen.
Okay. Let me try that.
Say that, that's not sure. Excuse me, guys.
You have connections to these others? You have connections to these others? No.
I'm looking at some of them.
Lee, can I give you a different email to use to email it to
It'd
me?
be nice if they had volumes.
Okay.
It's MCB4, the number 4, live, LIVE @gmail.com.
Yeah, something really makes a presentation. I was thinking of something.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna ask you that again.
Yeah, the versions.
Yes,
You got that.
they're fantastic. So
Yeah.
like, and they would definitely like hand out.
Okay,
flyers.
you said it's N as in Nancy, CB4,
M is in Mary,
M as in
C.
Mary, CB4.
the number 4, right? And live, the word LIVE @gmail.com.
Okay. Okay, and let me know when you get this. Hopefully it doesn't take too long.
All right, did you send it, Leah?
I did.
Okay.
I can also try to share it.
No, I got it, I got it.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Did it come out okay?
Yeah, I did, just give me one, yeah, it's,
It didn't want to go on before 7:30.
That's right.
right, right on time.
Aaliyah, are you going to walk through the notes or?
You just want to read them on your own.
You could read them.
Trying to just show presenter view, but it's not, it's making it a little bit difficult.
It's being wonky. Well, you could hide the notes or you could leave the notes up, if people want to follow through the notes.
This might be the best we can do right now.
Okay,
For some reason, I'm not sure why.
Probably a
It
big,
was giving me my full view just a second ago, but for some reason it won't do it now. There we go. Okay.
awesome. Well, thank you, to Marisa Rodanti, who is on our team in education and workforce development at the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment, for organizing this opportunity for us to present to you. And I think Marisa is here. She's just off camera, right? I think so. So hi, Marisa, and thank you for organizing this. And my name is Aaliyah Jones Harvey. I am the Associate Commissioner of Education Initiatives and Workforce Development. And I'm joined by Carla Hoke Miller, who is the Executive Director of Theater Programs and Partnerships. And so we were just going to do a bit of an overview of what MOM does in our 10-minute slot, and also give you an update on some of the activity in the theater sector that Carla has been working on, and then take questions. Okay,
Sounds good.
great. So we could go to the next slide. So I think I kind of gone over this, but we'll present on our portfolio, our economic development initiatives, community outreach, our response to COVID-19 and recovery initiatives that we've put in place, workforce development programs, our focus on equity, diversity, and inclusion, and then an update on theater. We can move forward. So one back, but the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment represents the creative sectors across the city, and And the creative sectors are generating over $150 billion in economic activity. And 500,000 jobs. So this is about 8% of the economic activity of the city. And that's why we think it is such a critical piece of what makes this city unique. And we can go forward. You may have seen in the trades in the past week that we now have a new commissioner, Commissioner Pat Kaufman. She comes to us with a deep background in economic development, and so we're really excited about the opportunity going forward. She's the former executive director of the New York State Governor's Office for Motion Picture and Television Development, former deputy commissioner of the Empire State Development Office for the state, helped create the New York State Film and Post-Production Tax Credits, and former president of the Association of Film Commissioners International. So as I mentioned, that the economic picture for the city in the creative sectors is 500,000 jobs and over $150 billion in economic impact. Film and television is the largest, of course, slice of that pie. And so we're excited about what it means for us to put new energy into expanding our footprint in that space. We can go forward. The Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment now has 5 divisions. We started out in 1966 as the film office, and we've just been growing and growing and growing to encompass all of what makes New York tick. The film office, of course, is the one-stop shop for production, on location shoots, as well as help with any production needs that filmmakers may find that they need. We also operate the largest municipal television and radio network in the country, NYC Media. That's 5 channels, television channels, and a radio station. The Office of Nightlife is also a part of our purview at the moment, and that was launched 5 years ago as an opportunity for the city to be responsive to community and nightlife operator needs. We are coming to you from the Creative Sector Programs Group, which is a part of the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment. And we respond to economic development and workforce and education needs across 7 sectors currently, that being theater, music, advertising, publishing, digital media, film, and television. And then more recently, we took on the press credentialing function for the city and opened that office. And so now that makes up the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment. We can move forward. On the economic development front, our office has been very busy with establishing industry councils and roundtable convenings and panel discussions with industry leaders. We have taken this position that the more connected we are to leaders in the industry, the more responsive we will be able to be to industry needs. And so we've now convened the Film and Television Industry Council, the Digital Games Industry Council. Carla is working on a live performance and theater council. We have had convenings for production, post-production, convenings, many convenings that happened in response to the pandemic. And we are looking forward now to doing more convenings to understand how the city can be responsive. We can move forward. Our community outreach initiatives have included Jan Arts, which is a partnership that Carla will go into more depth on, but that's a very robust program that happens in January in support of a suite of festivals. The Public School Film Festival is another example of what we do in the community to try to encourage emerging filmmakers. New York Music Month is something that just concluded for this year in June. And it's a celebration of the fact that our city has more live music venues and more music studios than any other city. And so a celebration of the fact that this is a gem in New York and something for us to promote and amplify. And All New York's a Stage is an initiative that Carla will also go into later in the presentation. Okay. In response to COVID-19, our office quickly pivoted from creating workforce programs, which was a lot of our effort before the pandemic, to actually convening industry and trying to figure out how to be quickly responsive to industry needs. And so we held several webinars. We're still holding webinars, created a lot of online activity. One of the interesting programs that is still active today is Music for the Soul, which is a partnership with the local 802, the Musicians Union, Health and Hospitals, and our office to bring music from musicians in their own homes to hospitals around the city. And it was virtual during the pandemic, and now it's happening in person in lobbies in hospitals around the city. And that's been a way for musicians to get gainful employment opportunities and give back to the city. More recently, Marisa Rodanti has been instrumental in organizing webinars in response to the strike activity that you may be aware of that's happening with the Writers Guild of America. And now there have been 3 webinars, 2 specifically to provide resources to individuals that may be out of work at this time, and 1 that is specifically designed for small businesses that were affected by all of the work stoppage that's now happened in production. Our website actually includes links to all of those webinars if the information could be useful to any of the members of this community. And we can go forward. So as I mentioned earlier, we support a number of workforce development programs in film production, now video games, music, publishing, theater. We recently announced a $2 million investment in a public option in game design to provide an opportunity for New Yorkers to have an affordable way to get a bachelor's degree in that area. We can keep going. So Made in New York is one of our signature logo programs. This is a photo of the Made in New York animation project, which is happening all over the city. There are Made in New York animation project programs running in all 5 boroughs. We also have a theater workforce development program with a Made in New York stagecraft boot camp. And we can keep going. I think there are a number of these pictures. We've supported small businesses through a number of technical assistance programs during the shutdown, through training programs in business development, and we can keep going. We have focused on gender equity, very specifically with a women's fund for media, music, and theater, and we have been providing over the past 5 years $2 million in grants each year to makers, creators that are featuring women or those who identify as women in their content. We can keep going. And this is where I'm gonna drop out and let Carla take over. But specifically, I think our supportive theater has been one of the cornerstones of the success that our office has had in outreach to individuals that may have an interest in breaking into one of the creative industries. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Aaliyah. We're just a little mighty engine because we have a very tiny staff. And so we depend on our community partners very much. And we feel very lucky to have such good relationships. And so we've been supporting Gala Pro installation in not-for-profit theaters. You know, there was a whole impetus on Broadway theaters, you know, kind of instigated by Schubert, who had I guess, a percentage of interest in the company, and now they own it outright. So most of the theaters, I think outside of a few, have it installed, and it's basically an imperfect technology, but it was, it was installed about 5 years ago. And it was the first of many efforts to make accessibility in the actual theater experience more fluid. And so it's basically a cell phone that is a personal cell phone of people that are have low hearing or are deaf. And it's it can be programmed through the software installation to have translation ability, a narrative ability, and also audio. And so it's kind of a handheld, you hold your phone as you're watching, which is a little problematic because of the cell phone activity that has been, kind of called out from the stage. So a lot of it has to do with retraining all the new people that are coming to the theater, as well as those that are on the stage and the stage managers, and switches in staffing that happened after the pandemic to let them know this is happening. But it disables every other function on your phone, and it's a black screen, and it's just held by the person using it. There's a lot of new technology that's being investigated. And one of the things that we did this year was Real Abilities Film Festival, which has been going on for about 16 years, is also by, for, and about people with disabilities. And they've had a summit for a couple of years that actually delved deeply for a couple of days into issues and discussions and new technologies that have evolved for the community that are making it more accessible. And so we worked, my colleague has been working with them as the film festival and to promote the festival for a number of years. And we had a meeting with them because I wanted to do a freestanding summit on what's happening in the disabilities community in regard to theater and the performing arts. And we actually came to a great partnership idea, which was to combine the summit and extend it so that we supported the hiring of a person from the disabilities community who had a performing arts background and programming background to then supplement their film aspects and integrate performing arts and live performance into the summit. And so we'll be doing that again. That was in April, and it was very successful because there is so much overlap, especially after the pandemic. It was it was accelerated. The overlap between media and theater and film and theater, and all the aspects of it that we are joining together to support. And we've seen a lot of activity on Broadway now with like the cost of living and some of the performances that are happening and the productions that are happening that are taking into consideration people with disabilities playing themselves and people with disabilities playing someone who doesn't have a disability. So it's a really interesting time, as we've seen with the equity projects that have gone on, like the Black Theater Coalition, Broadway Advocacy Group, a lot of the advocacy groups and equity and justice projects that have been happening really just on the same pace as they were happening during the pandemic virtually. Now we're seeing them all start to get to a next stage. So that's exciting. I guess next slide, we'll see what we have here. Okay, so I'm not sure if you're familiar with Jan Arts NYC, but that was a program that we started as a founding member with APAP, which is the Association for Performing Arts Professionals. And they've been coming to New York for 50 years. They went to other cities for 15 years before that. And they take over the Sheraton or the Hilton Hotel in Midtown and half of the Sheraton and bring 45,000 people from all over the world who are people that are in the professional business of signing artists to come and be in their next seasons all over the world, in a number of countries and all over the United States. And so I talked with them maybe 5 years ago about when I first came on 9 years ago, I guess it's been, about what we could do because we are funded locally by tax dollars, and we want to support the people in New York City. So though this is a wonderful thing, and a lot of New Yorkers get business this way, we wanted to make it really specific, pull out something very specific that is New York City based. And so we have we've had 9 to 13 theater groups and associations and dance companies and venues involved in being members. And it's pretty much administrated by APAP, but we are a media sponsor, and we have, kind of a very hands-on relationship with them. And it's people like the Public Theater, the Joyce, National Sawdust, I think the Dramatists Guild, and then ISPA, which is an international convening. So there's a whole, and Global Fest, there's a whole confluence of information that we glean from meeting with them all year round. And then in January, we do a promotional campaign with subway ads and bus shelters and digital media in the community and ethnic media outlets. And Summer of Games is something Aaliyah can talk with, if you want to go ahead and just jump in there.
Okay, that acronym there, NYMM, we mentioned before, in New York Music Month, it's a similar platform to Jan Arts, the support of all of this different music activity with promotion by our office. And if that's sounding like a common theme, that is one of the major things that our office can do, is promote what's happening in the city to New Yorkers, and then work with other agencies in the city, like the New York City Tourism organization, around promoting what's happening in the city outside of New York. So New York Music Month is something that's been happening for years now. Summer of Games we've just launched for the first time this year. And the idea again is to promote that there are a number of festivals, expos, conferences, web series, courses, workshops around games. And, you know, I am the games evangelist, I call myself that, for the city, because I believe that digital games are a new frontier in job opportunity and skills that are transferable across many industries. And so I'm a proponent of games. I think that we're all playing games in some way in our lives, even though, you know, there may be stigmas around what games are. And then we've put out several public awareness campaigns in the past, and are launching one later this year around how film is supporting our city. So with that, Carla, do you think that, do you want to share more about theater, or would you want to take questions from the group?
I would be happy to take questions. That's probably the best way to get to what you'd like to know.
Yeah, okay, great.
And I know that you all looked at the, are familiar with the All New York's a Stage report that was done in 2019. And just to let you know, that was pre-pandemic, the numbers, although the effect of it was that everybody could use that to help get funding when the pandemic struck. It gave credibility to a whole, you know, sector of people that had not had access. And we also found that a lot of people were not qualifying for loans because of the way they were categorized. So we were able to advocate to the state and federal government to include them as small businesses, small theaters as small businesses, and that sort of thing. But the statistics, in order to make the study, the group that was commissioned used a lot of the numbers from 2017 because of the way that things were staggered. And so this is a report that things have changed, but it was a good mark in time because there hadn't been a report like this before, because people that would start one often didn't have the funds to finish it or to keep it up or to do it professionally in a way where they really used a lot of data that was available, but they might not have been aware of it. So we had Borough Happold as our partner, and they were amazing, but it really served its purpose. And we're going to do the All New York's a Stage promotional campaign of small theater and live performance venues and organizations this November and December with a big media campaign, the way we did in 2019 when we announced the report.
Thank you. Well, it was a terrific report. It came to mind late in the week for us to get some, get this as a question for you. So thank you for the update.
Sure.
Any questions?
No, thank you very much for the presentation. I just have you seem to be, I guess, from what I get from the presentation, what you pretty much offer is sort of an educational tool and a promotional tool. Is that kind of what you have? Webinars that I guess artists or organizations can get information on, and also you seem to be doing a lot of promotions, you say, about programs that you're doing. Is that correct? I'm just trying to get a sense of.
That's correct.
Okay.
You're correct. We've been supporting training programs as well. So Made in New York, which is, our trademark that was established by our office, initially was a sign of film industry activity and is now a sign of industry across many of the creative sectors. So we have several workforce programs that provide an opportunity for New Yorkers to take short training, 4 weeks, 8 weeks of training and then be placed in jobs, full-time positions. So we have quite a few training programs. We recently published, or I say we, but really it was Bloomberg that published a study on the Made in New York Production Assistant Training Program, which has now been running for over 15 years. And over 1,000 New Yorkers have been trained. I mean, we took the success and learnings from that program and then launched several other workforce programs like the post-production training program, the theater workforce development program, which is one that we support through Roundabout Theater Company. And, you know, as I said, the animation project, and we have another one called Media Makers. So when we find opportunities to support workforce programs that place New Yorkers in jobs, we look for those opportunities and look for the opportunity to support the expansion so that more New Yorkers have access to that opportunity.
And I think what we also try to do is really attract young people and or any age to careers that they might not have thought were for them. That, you know, to make it accessible, to have pipelines, to have employment partners that we convene with and get them on board to then hire after a training program is finished. We work with a lot of the unions. We work with 802 and with IATSE to make these things viable, to give people the opportunity and put them on an equal playing field. If they want to join the union after 3 years with the workforce program that Roundabout runs, they will be qualified. And we've had great success with that. It's proved a national model. There was a big convening in Washington last year about replicating that program. So we also give seed money to new ideas of things that need to be tested out and piloted. We worked with the Scenic Design and Choreographers Union to do a study on what the members needed, what midlife meant, you know, midlife careers meant in that sector of dancers and choreographers. And it was, you know, we kind of try to keep, we're out there all the time and listening to a lot of people, reading a lot of research and surveys, and just trying to keep ahead of what will make an impact. And I think that that's of utmost importance to all, you know, importance to all of us. We're offering seed money to a number of members of 802 came to us and said that the way the orchestra members get chosen to play on Broadway is for an orchestra member to choose their own substitute. So there's a sub that will work for them when they're unable to work or when they want to take a vacation, and they're all professionally trained musicians to start with. And then the orchestra member that chooses their sub actually trains them on how they work on Broadway, gives them a whole course, more or less, brings them along as a shadow and takes them under their wing, and then introduces them into the network of people that will then keep calling on them if they need a certain instrument or, you know, it goes beyond just their show. So, or the show that they're working on. And a lot of the orchestra members are playing on different shows at different times, and they kind of mix in. So the union members came to us and said that they wanted to do a training program where they could get professional, I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice, that they could get professional musicians that were interested in playing in orchestras on Broadway. They could provide the training, and then they would work with us and with others to get employment partners and orchestra members to agree to hire one of their subs who's been trained. And then that way open up this very tightly knit field to a lot of other people and people that have been underrepresented on Broadway orchestras for a long time. And we think that it was a very innovative way. We've seen what Workforce and Pipelines do in industries to open them up and to further their importance in the city. And so, you know, if any of you hear of programs, or if you think of things that we might be doing that we haven't thought of, we would love your input.
Okay, I just have one more question. Has your office done a study on, I guess, public spaces for art organizations? And I ask because we have someone here from the New Federal Theater, and we actually did a letter for them a couple months back. They lost their theater space where they had been for quite some time in our district. And so I'm wondering if you.
Woody King?
Yeah.
Yes, correct, absolutely. So, you know, I'm first of all wondering if any kind of study has been done like that, and secondly, if there's any sort of support or connections that you can offer. Elizabeth Van Dyke is the artistic director there, and so that would be very helpful to know.
I think this issue has come up a lot, and it's a real estate issue, and it's a tricky one. Indie Space does a lot of work to try to get rehearsal space donated. I'm sure you're aware of them, Randy Barry and that group. As well as, you know, the Art New York Theater was built in our time in office. And that actually is a way of giving subsidies so that performances can happen. The York Theater has been displaced, and they, you know, by the St. Peter's Church, and they have come to us, and we've been offering solutions to them for a period of time. But it's a very tricky thing to do, and the city doesn't own any public space. There were public spaces that were owned that were sold during Bloomberg, and you know, like in LA, they own 10 theaters. It's, you know, it's a really different thing in New York with this kind of issue. I think we tried to, you know, we worked really hard, and with SAPO and with the street activities permitting office and with the citywide events offices and Department of Culture Affairs to create the open streets and the open culture programs that the council has now made permanent in order to give people, you know, access to public spaces outside. I think it's just when a theater loses its space, trying to relocate them is something that, you know, I know the Economic Development Corporation has been working on issues like that, and Department of Culture Affairs has as well. But I don't know that they have done a study, and I think it's so fluid and so liquid. You know, there have been ideas about converting some of the office space that isn't used anymore as rehearsal space, but it has to do with security and insurance. A lot of the storefront spaces, we talked with Hudson Yards and said, you know, please, you've got to activate your space, just put some theaters on these empty ground floors, you know, during the pandemic when things, and it was too expensive. We couldn't get, you know, even if we were to have subsidized something, it still was, you know, unreachable. And then what retail could pay to get in those spaces. And they weren't set up. There were lots of columns. So we continually try and work with our colleagues, and people come to us and ask, and we, you know, had gone to Westbeth and talked with them about when Martha Graham was trying to figure out a new lease. It's tough. I mean, if you have any solutions or if there's a model that you think would work or a study that you think would help, we can get our colleagues together to talk about it. But public space, you mean empty, privately owned real estate? That's, you know, kind of out of our, unfortunately, it's out of our realm.
But I would say that we have a new commissioner, which, you know, is an exciting opportunity for anyone to get in front of. And Ms. Van Dyke, this may be a great opportunity to set up a meeting with the new commissioner to talk about some of the challenges for the new federal, and how the city can be supportive of what next steps occur with the new federal. So
I do know it's so important. And I do know that a lot of theaters that have been displaced, or they have seasonal work and are just looking for a place to have, you know, part of the, you know, a quarter of the year and have rehearsal space, they are joining together and taking out leases as one, you know, as maybe three partners taking out leases in, you know, for space rather than one being burdened with having to keep it up and pay when the season isn't a full season, and also just with the cost of things. So that might be something that we could help with thinking through this and putting you in touch with people that are doing this kind of thing to see if maybe that you might join forces with their efforts. If that's
That's a great idea. Can we put Elizabeth in touch with you all by email or? When Jesse?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
That's not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think we do have a question from Mike Freeman.
Yeah, I'll bring Mike over now. I actually have a couple of questions that
Oh,
Katie
yes.
wrote me,
Oh,
and now unfortunately she's bounced off, but I will.
okay.
We wore everybody out.
Let's quickly ask my questions. Katie Stokes was a member of the committee. Unfortunately, she was with us for you tonight, but I think she got unfortunately disconnected. So one question was, were there any jobs for summer youth employment through your department or through your programs? And then how do you promote your workforce development programs? Do you reach out to community students?
So yes, we do have summer youth employment opportunities. Actually, the Media Makers program that we support is a partnership with CUNY and RealWorks. And it's an opportunity for students, high school students that have gone through RealWorks training programs, and CUNY students, any CUNY students that have interest in creative sector job opportunities, to get credentialed through the Media Makers program. So by credentialed, I mean take the training for either the technical aspect or the workplace readiness aspect of a job opportunity. And once they are credentialed, then they qualify for internships. And that program is hosting a number of summer youth employment interns this year. And then our Made in New York animation project is also running a summer youth employment program for students to learn animation as a part of their internship opportunity. And the way that we promote our workforce programs is through our website. Oftentimes we do digital advertising, believe it or not, in community and ethnic media, through subway and bus advertising, and through opportunities like this to speak to community boards, council members, borough presidents' offices, and then when we have opportunity, when we have an opportunity for to participate in career fairs, we love to come and promote our programs.
Thank you. Marissa, I know you had your hand up and then it was down, then it was up and it was down. So I know we also have Mike Freeman from the public. So Marissa, do you want to say something? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give the mic to Mike.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for the presentation. This all sounds really great. I sort of have a three-part question. First of all, I'm a band leader, musician, and concert promoter, not producer, more than promoter. The question I have, does your organization have funding for individual music groups? That's the first part. The second part is, I expressed in the January CB4 meeting, I expressed January or February, an interest in producing a local jazz festival in the CB4 community. And I'm wondering if there would be any kind of funding for that kind of thing for me to produce a festival of that nature. And thirdly, how do groups go about being considered for your existing programming as far as concerts are concerned?
So New York Music Month is one of the major promotions that we have of music concerts and festivals that are going on around the city. There are a few other scenarios where we have sponsored music festivals. We sponsor film festivals, we sponsor game festivals and theater festivals and book festivals around the city as a part of our economic development support. And so there is a world where you could submit a proposal for your festival and we would take into consideration how we could be supportive of it. Now that might be in kind through community and ethnic media, so promotion of the festival, which is a lot of the way that we support festivals by providing advertising of the festivals. And you know, there may be other ways that we could be supportive of the festival. I guess we would have to get into that conversation. In terms of support for individual music groups, we haven't done that. And I think the distinction between the Department of Cultural Affairs and the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment is sometimes blurred, but the Department of Cultural Affairs is the major grant-making organization to creatives. We have a one-off grant situation, which is the Women's Fund. But I think that would be the route that I would direct you in for an individual music group that's looking for support.
I understand that. I'm a 3-time LMCC grantee through the DCA. But I guess my question is, as far as a bigger event, a festival of several groups, LMCC doesn't have enough funding to do that on its own. So there has to be additional funding coming from someplace. Could it be working with an LMCC grant or something like that? Or again, would your organization be able to possibly consider funding a festival of that nature?
I'll just say that, you know, Winter Jazz Fest is part of the Jan Arts NYC group, and they're already formed. And so it's a festival that already had, you know, a standing, and they always take on new groups, and they basically, I could put you in touch with the people that run that to see if you want to talk with them about how they did it. And basically what we offer for that with festivals is we try to get as many at once into get their regular programming and then promote it as a festival. So it could be 5, 6 music organizations that are doing something even at different times, but we will promote it under the umbrella of it happening so that we can leverage the promotional funding that we can, you know, give to support it. So we kind of support in kind, as Aaliyah said. So it's almost as if it depends on what you're asking. We don't support the production of theater companies or you know, the sectors that we represent. Basically, we try to find ways of promoting the work and helping people get known and helping be the liaison to putting people together to actually, you know, help them find out ways of doing what they're doing through other people, and then maybe get with them as partners and do something together.
I mean, NISCA may be another opportunity, Mike.
I'm sorry, well, I missed what you said.
NISCA, the New York State
Council of the Arts.
Council of the Arts may be another opportunity. I know that they offer grant opportunities annually for that kind of activity, like supportive community events and events that support community. And so.
That I was not aware of.
But it's all of these things all of these ideas that you have, please bring them to our office, because what, Carla and I are saying here is that we haven't done this in the past, but,
Doesn't mean we won't find a way to do it in the future.
Well,
Put you together with people that could help.
right. I just I'd like to say this to you so you have an idea of where I'm coming from. In the Hell's Kitchen neighborhood, there's been huge new developments going up, and all this stuff is happening. All these concerts are happening, so on and so forth. But it is not local groups. It's not local band leaders. It's not local musicians. And I'm trying to promote that in the Hell's Kitchen neighborhood, and it's been a very difficult task to try to do. So that's sort of where I'm coming from when I'm talking about trying to do a jazz festival in the area of local groups, because I'm sure you're aware of Manhattan Plaza. There are a number of world-class musicians in the building, and we could put on a great concert, a great festival, and I would love to be in charge of that and do that. So that's the idea I'm trying to present and see if there isn't something that could be done.
I'll put everybody in touch with each other, and you guys can go from there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay. And Marisa said that she had some comments, but she's not able to connect. The camera's not recognizing her. So we'll see if she has some follow-up comments, then we can always just forward those to you. Or she
Yeah, sure. We know this. Oh, yeah.
Marisa.
Yeah. Thank you, Marissa.
Marisa did a great thing also with youth employment, is she did a miraculous campaign to get the oh my God, am I forgetting the name? What is the name of it, Aaliyah?
I mean, you're talking about all of the employers that Marisa has engaged to bring on summer youth employment.
Yes.
Program students over the past 2 years. She's been relentless in outreach, and it's paid off. I mean, the city celebrated expanding the program, and Marisa was a part of that effort. From 75,000 students being served to now over 100,000 students being served through the program. We're excited. We've got some interns ourselves that have started with us this week. So,
yeah.
All right, so any questions?
No.
Terrific.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure talking with you all, and please stay in touch.
yes,
Absolutely.
let's make this an open dialogue. As you can see, our office tries to be responsive to what the city's needs are, and so we can only do that by hearing from you.
And we know how hard hit Hell's Kitchen has been, and we know how tough it's been on the community. So we're sorry, we're always looking for ways to help with that as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and Mike, thank you for being here.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Good night.
All right. Over noon.
Couple of good presentations. All right. So let's circle back.
Okay.
So the fact that we don't have a quorum to vote on means we can make some suggestions about some actions, letters.
I don't know if it's too late, but Elizabeth never got to ask her question.
Who? Oh, Elizabeth?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Okay, Elizabeth, you're on mute.
I actually don't have a question. Can I have 2 minutes?
Sure.
Or is it not allowed?
No, go ahead.
Firstly, I really want to thank you. Thank you for being in New Federal's Corner. I really appreciate it. And every time I come to one of your meetings, it it broadens me and I learn and am informed by so much. I'm here because the last time we talked, you were advocating for new federal for subsidized space from the city. I'm going to try to really be fast. And we have been engaged with Eric Botcher, has been Angel, talked to Senator Brad, talked to Commissioner, all the commissioners, everybody. Okay, building sold from under us. We find out there is a building at West 17th Street, Color School number 4, that you are very instrumental in saving, in landmarking. We're not sure, would that building be a possible site for a small theater for New York City? I mean, for a new federal theater. Is it possible? We don't know, just looking from the outside, looking from the report, it would be a very small theater. Is that even a possibility? Is there anything, other property that you've been working on that might be city-owned and apropos for a small theater? That's my question to you, because we're working on is that a possibility? Is West 17th Street, the Color School number 4, a possibility for a small theater? Is that unfair question?
Yeah, no, it's a fair question, Elizabeth. The answer is it's yes, in the sense that is it possible? I mean, again, not knowing the parameters of the detail of the space and would an actual theater be able to work there, I can't answer you that. But the city agency that owns the property now is the Department of Sanitation. So it is, at this point, I will tell you, it is between the Department of Sanitation, the mayor's office, and most likely Councilmember Eric Botcher's office as to what the future of the building's use is. Right now, it's not being used at all. It has been sitting vacant for many years. It has been landmarked. There's been $6 million dedicated, $6 million and change dedicated to its preservation. That building will take more than $6 million. You know, that might preserve it, and they might be able to fix the roof and do some and keep it structurally sound. But in terms of a future use, that's a decision, I think, really that falls at the feet of the current agency that owns it, it's mayor's office and Eric Botcher's office.
How do you get in to see it? Can anybody get in to see it? To see that, I mean, if we're going through a dead end street.
I will tell you, it took a very long time to be able to even do a tour. And only a few people, because it is structurally got some significant concerns. And so it's not something you can just have many people come in and look at it too. Again, what's going to happen there is like anything else that the city owns. It doesn't just get dedicated to a specific use and a specific user. It most likely would be eventually turned either into a project specifically under the Department of Sanitation, which it could become a museum of some sort, or it could be opened up to an RFP process in which different groups can apply to the RFP. So again, that's a ways down the road. I mean, the money has just been dedicated to the preservation. So I think that's the first stage. I don't see that being, maybe there's an RFP discussion next year, but I can't speak to the details of it. So I would continue working with Eric's office. Honestly, I think that's the key there, and to see what ends up happening there with that building.
Okay.
In terms of other buildings, I off the top of my head, I'd have to think about that, but
Okay.
you know.
All right. So we'll follow up with Eric's office and everybody else and follow up with you, and thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Elizabeth?
Yeah.
Elizabeth, I'm sorry, this is Leslie on the committee. Have you thought of like Salvation Army? They have a big stage and a huge, like, I don't want to say a huge theater, but there are different organizations in our district that actually have some spaces like that might not be fully used. I know because I was just talking to someone from Salvation, not about your case, but about something else and how that's underused, or like the Actors Temple Theater, things like that you can hook up with to see if maybe there could be some sort of time share, for lack of a better term.
Are you the Salvation Army on 46th Street? That
Yeah,
one?
is that one?
Okay,
I think
I'll
so.
look into that. I'll look into that.
Stage and yeah. Anyway, but we can talk, Jesse, we can.
Thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Blessings. I'll let you know what happens. Peace and blessings. All right, bye-bye. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
I mean, this could be a logistical issue totally, but middle schools, they talked about, high schools, they talked about, you know, like CUNY, and CUNY could be a good option too, because we do have CUNY schools like John Jay in our district, going to middle schools and offering like acting and using some middle schools have great auditorium. Like lab has a really great auditorium. So exchanging that, I mean, it's not the performance you want to give, but a stage is better than no stage. Swapping those two.
Elizabeth is saying yes, I think those are good ideas as well on the video.
I mean, there's a lot of logistics around that, like fingerprinting and things like that, but
Yeah.
we can get around it.
Yeah.
So. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, so just real quickly, just to confirm, if there's a desire that we think that we want to, that we would normally want to suggest a recommendation to the full board of some level, whether it's the support or advocating for something, that we haven't already done something. If it's something that we've already written on, we can certainly do an administrative letter, but if it's something new, then we can have that conversation here, and someone would be willing to write a draft and suggest it for the full board as new business. That's where we would go with this at this point.
So do you want to do anything with SCA? Any requests, besides a thank you? Nice thank you that we want to get information from him. With a couple of, you know.
And if we ask for his, the Excel spreadsheet, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything here, yeah.
I guess it's not appropriate to ask them to hurry up and build a middle school and have that maybe a K through 8 school.
Yeah, that would be wonderful in the Western Yards, but yeah. that's
It's not under their control.
Right, yeah.
Listen, yours.
I think your kids will have been graduated by then.
Well, I'm worried about my grandkids.
Okay, well, that's.
It won't be done then either, Charlie.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, the truth is actually, you know, it would have been much more delayed actually if, because of the Hudson River project, the way the Hudson River project was gonna turn out, that section of the Hudson Yards area was gonna be under construction for the tunnel. So what related and actually, Amtrak went off and did was build a casing to put the tunnel through, so they could go ahead and build phase 2. So in some ways, people are doing things that are helping speed this whole process along. We're just not physically seeing it, but that is happening. So that's good. So
That's good. Maybe we can have a school inside the casino they're going to build there too.
that's
Oh, geez.
yeah, well, we can.
They can teach them now.
Oh, that's true.
All right, so nothing for SCA. You want to talk about media and parks?
Parks did a nice job. I mean, we had a question about the silence. Seemed to get happened a little bit, except to encourage you to do more.
I mean, they've said that the mayor's office is in discussion with the HERFs about programming there, so.
Sounds good.
You know, it'd be nice to get a flyer or something for them, but that's not something I could just reach out first. I don't think it would be-
Yeah.
It's not, yeah.
It doesn't have to be bilingual, we get, if
Yes.
you're distributing it to,
Absolutely.
like, the asylum persons, and multilingual, I guess, they're not just, I mean, who are our asylum seekers, we think about, like, just.
I can inquire about the
Yeah.
flyer and it's whether it's in in multiple methods.
Thank you.
All right, and then we, what? Anything? Momi? Never heard of that. You use that acronym that way, but okay. I don't get a sense of anything you wouldn't think
No.
there's anything I know. Okay, all right.
Well,
Sounds good.
the only other item that we had was that we are considering dropping the street light from this committee. Basically for two reasons. Well, the main reason is that most of the issues that have to deal with either the trash containers or outdoor sheds or public toilets have to go through transportation. Is that correct? Because it has to do with pedestrian.
Well, I would say between WPE and transportation, a lot of this, what used to be street, related sidewalk stuff. I mean, the reality was the street light part of this committee historically was related to street fairs and block events. And that a while ago has shifted over to transportation. So I think there was an interest there was some folks on the committee that had other interests on street life around sanitation. But I don't know if that's still enough to put it on the committees.
So that would be the second reason then. So the first would be that because transportation is doing most of it. The second reason is that, Blake was doing a lot of sort of the newspaper racks and all of that, and we don't really have anyone here unless someone is volunteering and really wants to work on street life, partnering with WPE or transportation to do something. We don't really have anyone on this committee who's.
Oh, I think what we might want to do, Charlie?
Oh, I was just going to say, serving on both committees as Alan does, I feel like there is a lot of duplicative stuff where we'll get a presentation for, something about trash or the new containerization in both committees. And those of us who sit on both hear everything twice. So that it does make some sense to me to hand that portion over to TPC.
That's perhaps for September. And we'll try to get this out to folks who aren't here, is to maybe think of some different outreach, maybe a different mission for, doesn't necessarily have to be called street light, but maybe something outside of what WPE is doing, what transportation is doing, if that's a possibility. So it might be something we could discuss in September going forward. Perhaps not. Yes?
I'm sorry, I'm raising my hand to meet over it. Okay, I'll throw this out there, and Jesse, you and I talked about this a few years ago. I'm gonna put a flying appointment. Maybe the S should stand for safety. I think we're one of the only safety. I think we're one of the only, I wouldn't say one of the only, but we are one of the community boards that does not have a public safety committee. There are around that have a public safety committee. And I think unfortunately that was sorely missed in the last few years. There's, if a precinct wants to, I know they have community council meetings, I understand that, but there's nowhere to house them naturally in community board 4. I remember Jesse and I were talking, and it would be too hard to do a whole new committee. But if we are going to take away that little part, which really is non-existent anymore for ACES, it might have a nice house or home here. If so, say there is a PA, a PAL or a, program, where does it go? It doesn't go, it's not in a park, it doesn't, I mean, I guess we could find a place for it. But I think with a lot of the public safety concerns that people had, or maybe still have, sometimes human HHS would hear it, sometimes land use, it was thrown around a lot. And I think I'm going to put a pitch that maybe safety should be taken up by ACES.
So something like that, something, outside the box in a way, in terms of maybe some new ideas about creating something under safety or
I just want, one thing I just want to say though, is that I think one of the issues that we have, that this committee has always had, is that, you know, our meetings tend to be, you know, kind of all over the place, right? We have a lot of things going on. Arts and education go very well together. I mean, I understand your point about safety and maybe, I don't know, we're still doing working groups, you know, that could be another idea, but I feel like, you know, we have talked about how we want to dig deeper into some, you know, very serious education topics. We have tons of things going on. And I feel like if we add public safety to that, that's a big thing, right? And I don't know if we're really going to be able to get into education the way that we really want to. So that's my only concern with that. I just.
Yeah, I think you can, yeah.
Actually, it depends on what you're talking about in terms of digging deeper, because policy issues about how to run the schools is an issue that probably is maybe slightly above. I mean, what are we here for in terms of education? To get support for our schools, advocate for them, get things taken care of, you know, like, you know, bread and butter issues.
Right, which is not policing.
Charlie has his hand up.
Right, and arts is not policing either, so that's my,
Yeah.
Charlie, sorry.
Sorry, this is a little bit of a diversion, but possibly related. I'm curious if we have new members on the committee.
Yes, we do have members. And one returning older member.
Yeah. So I mean, we have actually a student on our committee, which is great. Sorry, I literally I printed out the minutes, they're so small. I can't read them. Yeah, Mana Awas is one of our new members. Unfortunately, none of them could make it today. And so, and then, Inga, who was actually a public member on BLP for quite a bit, and is going to stay on BLP, but she was actually on ACES for a long time and the co-chair.
Yeah, she's
She was the former co-chair of the committee. And then who am I missing? Wilson. Kana Wilson. Yes, Kana Wilson, sorry. And he could not make it today. So we have three.
Yeah, so we just want to throw it out there in a way, have folks think about it over the summer, and perhaps put it on the agenda in September as a item to discuss and see, you know, where it falls out. All righty.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, we don't have to have a motion to go.
I was just gonna say.
No, we don't.
Do we have to?
No motions.
All right, everybody. Okay,
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a good night.
See you in September.